God's anointed. As you remember, Saul was anointed to be king of Israel. And yes, he failed. And yes, he rebelled. And he lost his position as far as what God had planned for his life and his testimony. But still, he was the anointed king of Israel. And when David, and we talked about this yesterday on the broadcast, when David there in the cave of Adullam, he came up behind Saul. Saul had gone into the cave to do as Scripture says, to do his business. And while he was there, David came up behind him and cut off a piece of his robe. And he could have killed him right then and there. But the Spirit of God smote his heart. And he realized that this man, even though he was trying his best to kill David, because he had convinced himself that was the cure to all of his problems, was just get rid of that little shepherd boy who had now become a mighty warrior, that the women were singing praises to, and they said, Saul has slain his thousands and David has slain his tens of thousands. And the jealousy had become so intense in Saul that if he could kill David, he would. And now David had the opportunity to do what Saul thought, when Saul thought that if I can just get rid of David, my problems will be solved. But the truth of the matter is that if David had just gotten rid of Saul, his problems would not have been solved. As a matter of fact, he would be opening up a whole new area of problems, because it's very, very possible that he would have been ushered into being the king, but he wasn't ready. God had not finished the process in his life of bringing him to that place of maturity where he would be ready and able to handle the responsibilities of leading the armies of Israel and ruling over the people. And we've talked about this here on the broadcast. How many times have we read about somebody who was thrust into a position of power and prestige and maybe fame and maybe lots of money? They just weren't ready for it. And they just had not matured to the point to where they knew how to handle it. And it begins to be that which will destroy them. It happens. But you see, when a person has determined that they're going to just walk with God and let God lead and guide, let God help them in times of trouble and stress, and let God do that maturing process in a person to where in God's time, and God's time is perfect, even though sometimes we don't always agree. God's time is perfect. And in God's time, he will take the person who he has ministered through and matured and put them into position to where they can best serve. This is Pastor Jack King with the gospel on the radio broadcast.